Good evening. My name is Angelo Messore, and I'm a faculty member at Manchester Community College. I'm here because I'm concerned about the future of Manchester Community College. It's been an important part of this community for many years now, but the community college system is changing dramatically, and we are going through a process of consolidation, which is effectively removing the autonomy of the colleges. The school, MCC, will no longer be an individually accredited community college. It will be part of the Connecticut State Community College, which will be run by a central office in Hartford or perhaps New Britain. I'm not sure. The problem is that, you know me, I've been teaching political science and economics for about 40 years now, and there's no research in economics or political science or even sociology that shows that large bureaucratic organizations are really effective. Large bureaucracies tend not to be very innovative, they really don't save money, and they're not very responsive to consumers. Creating this large administration to administer 12 campuses is, in my view, really questionable. We are in a situation where we can't make decisions on our campus anymore. People are retiring in large numbers. Some are being replaced, but others are not. We used to have the top culinary arts program in the state. We had 5 chefs working in the program. We're now down to 2. We used to have IT technicians on campus. Many have been reassigned or brought to Hartford. We are down to 4 people working in IT now. The situation in the college is really fragile because so many people, we're teaching. We have more on-ground classes this semester than previously, but all the services, on-campus services, are being removed. If you have a problem with IT, you have to go online or call a number. One of my students told me that when he called the number, that the person on the receiving end wasn't even in state. If you need to change your password, or if you're having any IT problems, it becomes difficult to get a response. We used to have IT techs right on campus who were responsive to our needs and to our concerns, and that's changing. This is a very different model. We had for many years a college that was an important part of this community and very responsive to the community. I've had several generations of students over my 36 years of teaching. In fact, I see some of them around here. This is a huge change, and there's really no guarantee that it's going to work. Originally, this change was presented as a way of saving money. In fact, I was told, Mark Ojakian came to visit the college years ago and told us that he had to cut $28 million out of our budget. At that time, our budget was about $150 million from the state, for the entire system, by the way. Manchester's budget is about $52 million, and we were getting around $20 million from the state. It's actually $150 million for 12 schools is not a whole lot of money. That's exclusive of fringe benefits, employee fringe benefits. And so I was in the call, I did the math, and I said, wow, if you're going to cut the budget for the entire system by $28 million, that's like a 20% cut. That's huge. So the original reason for this consolidation was to save money. Then, as time progressed, they moved away from that, and then they argued that the reason for the consolidation was to resolve the achievement gap. The achievement gap is an important issue and needs to be dealt with, but I'm not sure that community colleges can do that by themselves. All the literature I read tells me that you want to deal with the achievement gap, you've got to start in preschool and elementary schools. We try as best as we can, but this achievement gap requires a broader approach. And plus, there wasn't ever any plan presented to resolve the achievement gap. So now, interestingly, the pandemic has saved the consolidation because the Board of Regents has received a significant infusion of money from the COVID relief funds. And in fact, if you read the minutes of the Finance Committee, you'll find that they're worried because there's a fiscal cliff coming up because the federal money is going to dry up next year. And then they're saying they're projecting a budget deficit of about $90 million. It changes, though. I've heard that Governor Lamont is going to provide higher education an additional $60 million. But the point I want to make here is that we're not saving any money with this consolidation, and it's going to have a significant impact on the community colleges, because they won't be community colleges anymore. You know, we had all kinds of, we had this, we had programs that were very responsive to the communities, to the needs of the communities in our service area. And plus, to be honest with you, I was really insulted by the claims that were made that, you know, our schools were failing because our key performance indicators were bad. We had some, you know, nobody bats 1,000. You know, we had some difficulties, but we've had many students who have gone on to transfer to the state universities, to the University of Connecticut, University of Massachusetts, I've had students transfer to Yale, transfer to the University of Chicago. Just yesterday, no, it was last week, I ran into a kid who was in my class who just got accepted to Boston University and was very happy to be able to transfer. So we've had a lot of successes. I mean, I have had 2 students who just graduated from Trinity, another one who's actually Columbia University in New York finishing up. So, you know, to say that we are failing schools is, I think, an exaggeration and even insulting in many ways. But anyway, I just want you to know that you know, we've had very difficult contract negotiations with the board. At one point, they were calling on the state university faculty to teach 5 courses, which is 45 hours a week, plus 10 hours of advising, which is 55 hours a week. Now, 55 hours a week is 7 times 8 is 56. That's 8 hours a day. We already work probably, you know, 50 hours a week, but it's not something that, you know, you can sustain over a long period of time. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that, you know, we've had a lot of problems, and I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be, but there will be many retirements this year because people feel very discouraged. It's been a very difficult situation, and, you know, we haven't received you know, I don't think we've received any support. You know, just this morning I testified at the board meeting, the Board of Regents meeting, and, you know, they roll their eyes. You know, they're not interested in what we have to say because they want to do what they want to do. And they're going to do it. And, you know, I was looking at the minutes of the meetings, and the Board of Regents approves everything the system office asks for. I mean, I'm a political scientist, so I study voting. And it's fascinating. How would you conclude when you see every request being approved? Either the board is infallible or the board is a rubber stamp. I don't know. You be the judge. But these are questions that need to be asked. We really need legislative oversight for what's going on at the Board of Regents. Thank you.
Yep. Angelo, thank you. Thank you as always. We've heard from you over the years on this. I've heard a lot about this. I have not been a huge fan of the consolidation plan. In theory, as you alluded to, it was meant to streamline administration and, you know, going between campuses for students. But, you know, again, as you alluded to, as you press down further, you know, the figures, the finances of that plan didn't quite add up. So I am not alone. There's actually a pretty large bipartisan coalition. There was sort of an impromptu caucus for the community college on this issue in the legislature. And one of the things that came out of that is a number of bills that are being introduced. One that's been around for the last couple of years is legislative approval for the closing of any campuses, which currently does not exist. The board can do that on their own. I think there's support for that this year. There was pushback, as you might imagine, in previous years, but it seems to be some bipartisan support for that as well. So it is an issue that a lot of us are tuned into. But please continue to stay in touch and stay active on it.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to you, given I work in higher education too, so I'm very familiar with financing higher education. You know, and I think part of the challenge that the community college system faces, one, it gets criticized for its 4-year graduation rate, 6-year graduation rate, or its graduation rates in general, even though it's a fairly unfair measure to apply to the community colleges because the nature of the student that goes to a community college. Often they're working, often they're a parent already. They're not the traditional college student, 18 to 22 years old. So holding them to that same standard, I think, results in some unfair outcomes, or at least the way the outcomes look. But the challenge is we've been looking at this. I work at Trinity College, right? We've been looking at this for years. We know that the overall population of college-age students in New England has been declining for 5 years, going to continue to decline up through 2026 when we expect that population to continue to grow. So obviously, if we have fewer college-age students, that means there's fewer students who are going to college of any kind. And we've seen significant declines in enrollment in the community college system across the state. So obviously, it becomes incredibly difficult to continue to finance the same infrastructure, both human and physical, when you have an overall declining tuition-paying base. And I think that's part of the concern. I never heard about the achievement gap argument being used for the consolidation. And consolidation is not atypical. States across the country have consolidated community college systems. One's much larger, depending on the state, obviously, that you're in. So there is some merit to the argument that what they're trying to do is eliminate the duplication of administrative services, which is something we always hear from the academic side of the house, so that we can continue to invest in the faculty, because that's the most important piece of a higher education experience, right, is having you in the classroom teach the classes that the students want to take. So, I'm not going to assume that there was ill intent. I don't ever think there was ill intent. I think it was a confluence of factors that forced policymakers to have to do something to support a system that was built probably 40 or 50 years ago, when population numbers were very different, when there were far more younger people. And of course, you're always subject to the whims of the economy, right? We know when there's a bad economy, lots of students go back to school, to places like MCC, to get retrained or to get trained in a new profession. When there's a lot of jobs out there, fewer people are going to community college. And we all know right now that it's kind of a workers market, because workers are able to pick what kind of job they want to get right now, because there are so many openings. And obviously that is making it more difficult for community colleges and higher education institutions of all kinds to actually meet their budget, because fewer people are availing themselves of that college experience. And then, of course, we are seeing the increase in vocational training programs and other types of certificate-type programs, because people are questioning the value of a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, which is really unfortunate, because it's not just about getting a job, it's about becoming a citizen and a human being. But obviously, people are more focused on what kind of job am I going to get to make a salary that can support my family or support myself. So I think it's a confluence of pressures that we're seeing that is particularly impacting higher education.
Well, the problem, too, is that, when you have a centralized structure, the central office wants to basically
Absolutely.
hold on to resources. And how are the needs of the campuses going to be met? The example I give is MCC used to have athletic teams. Athletic teams attract students. Our baseball teams were winning championships. Well, we had the first fiscal crisis, and at that time, President Glickman decided to cancel the athletic program. So the athletic programs disappeared. And I kept on arguing with her about it. I said, look, when times get better, we got to bring it back, because there are a lot of students who come for the athletic programs. Well, then they decided to install solar panels at the college, which is fine, but they just installed them on the athletics field. So we lost the fields. And we can't bring back these programs anymore unless we spend a significant amount of money to rebuild athletic fields in another location. Those athletic fields benefited the community, because Little League teams used to play there in the summer. So, decisions are made, and I don't know who makes the decisions, but, you have to understand that, situations are complicated, and there are a lot of unanticipated consequences when you make a decision. And who's making this decision, and are they taking into account the needs of the different constituencies? See, that's, I had students, I had a Jamaican student who played soccer and got a scholarship to play at UMass. Another guy who played baseball and got a scholarship to play at Fordham University. I mean, those athletic programs are valuable for the students. They call it students first, and I'm saying, well, we lost our athletic program. And that's not students first, and those programs attract students. You're absolutely right. We have a demographic problem. I'm fully aware of that. And sadly, I think the system's going to have to retrench as a result of it. I don't know how long this demographic decline is going to last. I was just looking at the data the other day. At our high point in 2012, we had about 7,500 students. Now we're down to 4,500. We've lost a huge number of students. I don't know where they are, but the reality is that there are fewer college-age students in the state. So,
Senator Casano.
I want to add a little to this discussion. Can you hear me?
You're good, Senator. Go ahead.
Okay. I taught for 28 years at MCC. I watched the demise of what has happened there with the reorganization and the restructuring. It simply has gone too far. I've had discussions with both of the chairs of the Higher Ed Committee. I think there's a strong belief among most of the committee members that something has to be done. It's got to be changed. The community colleges have lost their identity. I don't know if this was part of the intention of the merger, but it clearly has happened. As a faculty member there for 28 years, I can tell you that we took a sense of pride. We felt that we had the best community college in the state of Connecticut. And I got to tell you, they felt the same way at Tunxus or New Haven or whatever it might be. All of that is gone because we've become one vast conglomerate. Nothing can be done in the short session. This session is just too quick. And with everything going on, we just don't have the time to meet. But we've been assured that they're going to take this firsthand and really get in some depth of this in the next session. And I look forward to being a part of that. I think all of us are going to be a part of that because I want us to get back where we were. There was tremendous pride in being part of Manchester Community College and having it located in that town. How we lie with statistics, graduation rates. A student leaves Manchester and they transfer to UConn or Trinity or Yale, and that happens, by the way. But they go there and they transfer. They don't graduate because they transfer. So we got them as a non-graduate while they're at Yale University. Who are we kidding? So there's a lot of things that can be changed for the better. These colleges are not getting the credit that they deserve for the effort that they make and for the programs that they run, national championship programs. Look at the restaurant program. There isn't a better program than the hotel manager program in the country. And we're always in the top 3 in the country. So it does need an overhaul. And I hope we're going to be a strong part of that.
Look, I don't disagree with consolidation. There are certain things you can do when you centralize management, but the colleges have to have a certain degree of autonomy to make their own decisions on their own campuses. You can't take it all.
Agreed.
It's not going to work, but
Colin, I think that's you, Colin. If you could just hold on one second. We just want to answer one question that came in on Facebook real quick. There was a question from Craig. When will there be an update